Hey there, it's Nat. I've got a question for you today. Have you thought about what kind of leader, influencer, dare I say the word celebrity, you want to be in the year to come and the time ahead? This one might be just as relevant to those of you who already have some degree of position of influence in the world, or it may be just as relevant if you're in startup. A lot of what we're talking about in the world and in business discussions at the moment is something that I, funnily enough, talked about a lot over the last decade, and that's the power and the opportunity, the immense opportunity that exists online right now in moving online, we can get more momentum in accessing global space because we can access more people in a global space, and you can set up your events in such a way and your social media in such a way, when you have the resources to do so, that you can have more people engaging with you. Yeah? Possible to impact and influence more people in that respect. So if you're somebody that is aspiring to impact and influence more people, then this one might be for you. Yeah? I wanted to share a couple of things I've noticed on my last decade of journeying about the journey that hopefully in the sharing might help you sort of consider what presence that you want to bring to that space, and hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls that I know I personally, or I've watched some people have to journey in that space as you kind of rise into, because there's two things that happen. I mean, there's the logistics of how the experience unfolds for the people, and you needing to bring on extra support to help manage the customer and the client experience, yeah, of when you're engaging with more people. And then there's the internal world experience for you of how do you deal with a scenario in which all of a sudden you'll start to have, the more you put your presence out in the world, the more you put your content, your wisdom, just you out there in the world, how do you deal with what comes back in terms of, I mean, yeah, there's the dealing with the not so great stuff, but this video today is a little bit focused on dealing with the good stuff and dealing with the fact that as an inevitable part of this, what happens, and I'm saying this to a friend who's contemplating a little bit more acting, modeling career at the moment, right? And then potentially being in front of more people. This is relevant in that scenario as well as in business. This thing starts to happen where people will know you, they'll know you from your content, they get very familiar with you, and they start to develop connection and attachment to you, which will seem a little bit, when you run into them, you'll start to notice this bit of a disconnect that happens between, they know all about you, but you may or may not have, when you get to a certain level of numbers on your social media, for example, you may not have ever met that person in public, and you may know nothing about them. And in your head, there's a part of you that might be going, hang on, who is this person? And you're doing a bit of a safety assessment, but also like there's a part of you that does a little bit of a, can do a little bit of a, I don't know that I've actually done anything to kind of earn this. And then we have to kind of get okay with that part of us that's like, okay, like this person knows me, and being able to receive the love or whatever, the compliments or whatever they want to bring to you. Like there's a process of learning how to be with that. And then there's definitely a process of learning how to be with when you get that love and respect and that influence. I was watching a clip recently from Graham Norton where he was talking, the premise of the video was basically about, he was interviewing Gwyneth Paltrow, Tom Hanks, Tom Holland, there was someone else in there as well. May have been Jake Gyllenhaal, maybe? Can't quite remember. Anyway, so there was this interview, and they were talking about the fact that when you become a celebrity, you can turn into an asshole, in Graham Norton's very poignant, honest way of being. So Gwyneth was sharing her experience when she first got famous and how things became very easy. And she was highlighting how personal growth actually requires some degree of challenge, because when you become a celebrity, stuff can get too easy because everybody starts giving you things before you actually doing anything to actually earn it. And it can start to get very easy. Tom Hanks kind of chimed in and said it almost can make you almost like it's infantizing because the stuff you end up being able to get away with because people just want to be a part of your world, they love you, but it's like you can get away with anything because you're a celebrity, and it's like they just want to be part of your world so they'll forgive anything and they won't necessarily call you out on stuff. I would say at a slightly different level, like I recall friends from Melbourne when I was at performing arts school, but I remember friends and family when they'd go out in public and they'd run into a neighbour's star, won't name any names, but they'd run into someone, they'd just try and have a normal interaction with them at the bar, and then all of a sudden they'd get this attitude of, don't you know who the hell I am? You're supposed to treat me a certain way because I'm a fucking celebrity. Right? And then all of a sudden they'd kind of go from, my friend, that is, kind of go from like, I was willing to give you a compliment 2 seconds ago, but now I just want to give you the bird for just being a total dick to me right now. And I kind of just lost a whole bunch of respect. And then they're going to go tell 30 people that they had this crap experience with this person, right? So there can be this other level of when the attention goes to our heads. And there's a whole other extreme to that, like the Russell Brands of the world have been through elements of that where, you know, they end up coming into a room, they don't even necessarily care who's in front of them in the room anymore, but they've got their guy there and they're whispering to which 30 women they want taken back to their room, yeah? Or there's other charming, lovely little moments. There's like 1,000 little ways it can play out, right? I remember being at an event with a beautiful spiritual singer one time, and she was going around the room and she was kind of expecting that everyone was going to give her praise, right? She was just in the zone. And when she got round to me, it was almost like, she was like, her chest was like totally like heaving. And she's just like, yes, I'm ready for my compliments. Give them to me. I'm so ready to receive. And it was almost like not backwards, but it was just like, it was really just like, part of me was just a bit like, ugh. And a bit like, you know, I'm a human too. Can you see me? But also there was another, like this was a terrible example because it's just like, this was like female ego, because then my ego kicked in and it was just like, it was like terrible example, right? And there's other little moments, like it's the moment when you get a bit braggy about it, right? I watched also recently, there was this rendition of Take Me to Church that Demi Lovato did, which was, I think it was like a live lounge thing, and it was amazing. She was amazing, right? Her voice was, it was like God singing when she sang. But the thing that wrecked it for me personally, right at the end, was you could just saw a split second before they cut off. If she kind of looked around to everyone else in the room, and the little girl part of it that needed to just be better than everyone kind of came out and was like, see how much better than you all am? And you could just see like, it was just like, again, it was like, it makes you just want to go, fuck you, man. Like, because it's not pretty. It's just like, it's like, that's bad winner vibes, yeah? So there's learning to deal with when it goes to our heads, yeah? And how do we deal with any of that attention in a healthy way? Because at this point, when you start to get that degree of momentum, you can have people in your world all over the place, not just in the expected ways, and you'll see them at your events or on your social. You can run into them in public, you can run into them at wherever. And in terms of the Dunbar's number, research principle of the more your numbers go up, the more the possibility for intimacy comes down, and the less intimate moments you're going to have with people. It starts to become about, and I think you've got to give some weight and consideration to, if that's the one moment that you're ever going to see someone in your life for 30 seconds or a minute, how do you use your responsibility, that immense power you have in that moment, to make a genuinely positive impact in that 30 to 60 seconds that you might have with someone in a really loving way, yeah? Beautiful example I think of with this is, you can see in the Michelle Obama documentary that was on Netflix earlier this year. You get to see around her book tour, and when she went on the whole tour around that, you get to see particularly there's a lot of younger women and there's some older women in the line waiting to speak to her. And then you get to see some of the focus groups or the groups where girls got to come and sit with her and ask her questions, and she shared her wisdom with them. You get to see that. And the thing I think that was really prominent in me watching that was just what a brilliant example she is of someone who clearly really gets the weight of the power she has, and what an immense amount of love and respect she was showing up with in those moments, to those brief moments where she knew that one girl was coming up to her being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is like my one chance to speak to her. And she's panicked because she knows it's her one chance, right? But then, like, Michelle was a bit like she's meeting that with that equal responsibility of, this is my one chance to make an impact in her world, potentially, that I know of. Sure, she's going to keep watching me, but this is the only face-to-face moment I might get with her ever, so how do I make the best of it? And you could really see that, like, in those examples, she was trying to share her wisdom or her stories quickly in a way that had the most possible impact for that girl, or she was trying to share a piece of encouragement or something like that that would just really help lift that person up. And I think that's such a beautiful example. Yeah, I think that's really something we can all be aspiring to as leaders, influencers. The more you start to engage with more people in the world, I think that's a really important, really pertinent, really potent thing to remember, that if you only get that 30 to 60 seconds with someone, how can you make the greatest positive impact in that moment? Something to think about, yeah? In advance before you get there. So that's what I wanted to share today. Feel free to comment, pass this on to anyone else you think it might be relevant to. Share, like it if you think it so deserves. And yeah, love to hear. What does this inspire for you? What's your answer to that question as it formulates for you? Does it inspire anything in you that you think, yeah, you know what, this is how I want to show up in these moments in future for me? I would love to hear. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching today. So much appreciated. And if I don't speak to you before, I hope you have a wonderful, peaceful, love-filled transition into the new year and a beautiful year to come in the year to come. Lots of love. Nat out. See ya. Bye.